Good evening, everyone. Today I'm going to do a bit of messing around with DCS P-51D, one of my all-time favorite aircraft. I think it's probably everybody's one of their all-time favorite aircraft. Anyway, let's get this thing going. I'm going to do a startup and fly out to the target range and stray some trucks. Sounds fun, right? It does to me anyway. Still getting used to the track IR. I've noticed a little bit of kind of stutter when I look at the front of the cockpit. You know what? Maybe it ain't that bad. It's smoothed out. Okay, so we're going to go through a quick startup sequence, and then we're going to fly over to the target range. We're going to blow some stuff up. But first, a very important piece of business. I'm still getting used to the track IR, which follows head movements and adjusts the your field of view accordingly, which is pretty keen. I remember I've been playing flight simulators long enough that I remember when it was a really big deal to have a POV head on your joystick. It's like, wow, you can look in 4 directions. Oh, 8 directions. Wow. And it'd be like, you know, it would just snap view, snap view. I'm not really doing it right, but anyway, an important order of business. Bottoms up. Video may involve mild use of alcohol. Alright, so quick startup sequence. Compared to the A10, the startup sequence is simple. But the plane is harder to fly. It demands more of you as far as just keeping it in a straight line and flying tactically and shooting things and spotting things and all kinds of stuff. I compare it to driving a stick shift car. It's going to be a lot more fun, but it's also going to be, you know, more challenging and therefore more satisfying when you actually get something done right. Pretty cool. Okay, so let's just get to it. Down here, I'm going to open up the carburetor air thing. I'm going to adjust the rudder. I'm going to have about, see that stutter? It's driving me nuts. 5 to 6 degrees right rudder for takeoff. The mixture knob is here, conveniently marked with the red M. Sorry, red with a white M. Excuse me. I'm going to put the RPM gauge slider all the way forward. That's that right there, the P propeller RPM, conveniently marked. Throttle forward a little bit. I'm going to close this to keep cockpit noise to a minimum. Although it is really cool to hear the engine roar to life. I'm going to uncage the horizon, artificial horizon. Here we go. And now we're going to go to the generator, battery, and the gun heat and the pitot heat, which I turn on early, even though you're supposed to wait till you're on the hold short. Or when you're about to start your takeoff run, that's when you do it. Turn the fuel system on. I'm going to turn the magnetos. Hold still! Thank you. There we go. Turn on the fuel booster. Hold still, you dang. I'm going to prime the motor for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Why not? And then we're going to hit the starter, which is here. And once that happens, so hit the M key on the keyboard and it adjusts the mixture from idle cutoff here on the top to run right there. Ready? Here we go. Should take a second. Once the propeller catches. Nice and easy. Now we're running. That's all you need. To make it combat ready, we're going to go down here. Turn on the gun, the camera. You notice up here, now we have our gun sight. I'll talk about the gun sight more on the way to the target. It does different things, and it was revolutionary for its time. I'll get to that more. I'm also going to arm the rockets. I'm going to do that using this switch here. I've got it mapped to my joystick. That's bombing mode, train, which is when it drops one at a time. Both, which is self-explanatory, and rockets. looks like it's putting down, that's unsafe. Nothing will fire. So, rockets. And if you want to fire rockets, you have one more step. Down here, you can fire them singly or automatically. If it's on auto, when you hold down the thumb trigger, they'll all just whoosh away all at once. And if you have it on single, they will whoosh away one at a time. Here's your fuel tank selector. Default is left wing tank, which is right about here on the wing. Got another one here and another one back here. The one back here causes some problems. I'll describe that here in a minute. So ready to taxi. My challenge, should I choose to accept it, is you turn to the right without hitting this hangar here. As a tail dragger aircraft. Labels around. It's dragging its tail. That makes it very challenging to hit. Center of gravity is aft in the main gear, so that has potential. Lots of accidents around those. Raise the flaps. Look at here. Look at here. Okay, you've got a... I'm not sure if this is unique to the P-51 or if it's generalized to all or most tail draggers, but the tail wheel, you can see it right here under the tail, which is why it's called that. You do that. If you push the stick forward, which also push your elevator down, it makes the wheel float free, kind of like a caster wheel in a shopping cart, which allows tight turns, but you got to be careful. Pull the stick back a little bit, also raises your elevator, but it locks the tail wheel to 6 degrees left and right deflection. So you can still steer a little bit, but it's a lot more controllable, a lot more stable, and that's what you do when you do a takeoff or a landing. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to give it a little bit of gas, stick forward so I have enough authority. Of rudder pedal and wheel brakes. That is what I didn't want to do. Great. Here, let's this mess I've got myself into. Done that a lot better. You notice the forward visibility isn't that great. This is common with all tailwheel aircraft. The nose point's high on the ground, so you kind of compensate for it by doing these little S-turn zigzags on the ground. You got to be careful when you do that not to overdo it, because the center of gravity, as I said, is aft, and if it goes outside, if you take a hard turn and you your center of gravity outboard of your main landing gear, you will ground loop, and that sucks. Just like my taxiing skills in this thing. Still getting used to it. So what we're gonna do? Pull the stick back a little bit. So I want to ground loop again. Okay. What I'm going to do is cut the throttle, apply wheel brakes, and let's reset the professional. Stop stuttering! Stop it! Hold still! Of importance when you do your takeoff, you know, your climb meter, obviously, your climb and dive, your BSI. You've got your manifold pressure. That's going to respond to your throttle, like so. This is your engine RPM, which you control with that, which we're going to put on maximum because it's low altitude. You're going to watch these gauges to make sure nothing goes wrong. This is your airspeed. That's going to be important too, and your altitude. You're just going to kind of look out the. I'm just going to look out there and see how high I'm going. Pre-takeoff check. Excuse me. Delicious. So, like I said, while we're doing our takeoff run, you're going to hold your stick slightly back aft. And this does two things. It locks your tail wheel in place so you don't squirrel all over the runway like a crazy snake. And it also plants your horizontal stabilizer on the ground. You know, what that does is it allows you to pick up more speed. It maintains stability while you do that, which is, I think, more important in a crosswind than, you know, I haven't put any wind on today, but if you do have some, it's kind of good to stay on the ground as long as you can. I think I haven't mastered crosswind takeoffs. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to hold my wheel brakes down, which you can kind of see there. You got your rudder motion, and then push your toes down. It's the wheel brake. Pretty cool. I'm going to go up to 30 psi here. I'm going to hold steady for a second, wait for everything to stabilize. I'm going to release the brakes, and then we're going to start moving forward while I hold the stick back. I'm going to slowly increase manifold pressure up to somewhere around 40, 45, something like that. Speed will increase. Once it gets to around 100 miles per hour, I will ease off back pressure on the stick, and hopefully the tail will lift up. The plane will kind of nose forward a little bit, and I will allow the plane to take it off itself. I will not pull back on the stick because torque is a bitch. P factor, which is a result of the propeller being a giant gyroscope. Check this propeller out, man. It's huge. It's something like 12 feet in diameter, or close to it. It's a big fan, and it's got a lot of power and a lot of torque. And see, the propeller is spinning to your right, which makes the plane want to spin to your left. And while you're at low speed, at low altitude, you do very abrupt control inputs, and you're going to ask for problems. Like I said, this plane is not, it is simple by today's standards, but it is not simple to operate. It requires a lot more of you. But that's why I like it. Anyway, more rock, let's talk, let's go. Oh! Let's do an experiment. Under my wings, you'll notice I have 6 high-velocity aerial rockets, HVARs, HVARs, which are horribly inaccurate, at least when I'm shooting them. And you notice on the A-10 you have an MFD here that tells you ground safe. I don't think the P-51 has that, so let's check this out. I'm going to fire, and I think we'll get a launch. Hey! Let's see where this one goes. It's gonna land in some farmer's field. Nice. Unfortunately, a small sheep was harmed in the making of this video. I want to see how close together they land. The farmer's about to lose a goat. I think can't even see the other marker, so whatever, let's take this thing off. Release the brakes. Start picking up speed, use your rudder to keep your nose pointed down. Align with the runway. Makes it easier if you line it up before you start your takeoff roll. Like I said, I haven't quite mastered this area. Ease off back pressure. And believe it or not, we're airborne. At no time did I pull back on the stick in order to gain altitude. That was really Now we got some altitude, we can gear retract it. reason they recommend not flying aerobatics at low altitude. Just gonna do a quick circle here. One cool thing about the track IR is you can see the effect that it has on the gun sight. Your head position, it's very much like an ACOG or an EOTech red dot sight. You may have you've ever shot a rifle with one, or probably more likely you've seen them on Call of Duty or something. It functions very much in the same way. It adjusts for parallax if I move my head to the right or to the left. Shows the path the bullet's likely to take. Incidentally, if you ever get the chance to shoot a rifle with a red dot sight of some kind, I highly recommend it. Aside from being a cool idea, if you've got good trigger control, it really makes it a great shooter out of you. Anyway, let's talk about this gun sight. It's the K-14. Target area over there. You'll notice this is a fixed reticle. And that no matter what I do with the gun sight, it just points straight ahead, which shows the proper path of the bullet, kind of like a cone. That works great for ground targets. Now for an aerial target, like let's say a Focke-Wulf 190 or a Messerschmitt 190 or a Ju-88 or whatever it is you want to shoot at, this isn't going to really calculate for deflection. You have to kind of instinctively know where your bullets are going to go. They're going to, if I hold my plane level, the bullet's going to rise up and then it's going to drop down through a certain point. It has to be bore-sighted. There's a firing pattern, a dispersal pattern for all six of these here groundings. It's a complicated problem if you think about it. When there's all these, think about all the variables. All the variables involved in aerial gunnery. We got the speed of the bullet, the trajectory of the bullet, which is going to be complicated if you have different kinds of bullets like tracers and high explosive or mix. You got your speed, your roll, your pitch, whatever your plane is doing, the roll, pitch, attitude, climb, dive, speed, wingspan of the target, all kinds of stuff. And from the earliest days of aerial gunnery, this has been a problem that was initially solved by just kind of instinct, or more easily by latching on to the 6 o'clock of your target, so you're both flying in the same direction, getting as close as you can, and then zooming in. This gun sight was designed to allow all different kinds of targeting solutions. You see this diamond gets bigger and smaller depending on what I do here. This dial, slider, is your target wingspan in feet. Say you want a Focke-Wulf 190 as a wingspan feet of 34 feet. So you dial in 34 feet. Then what you do is you use the throttle twist grip here. See what that does? You adjust this. It's your target range. And that you calculate for deflection. I forgot to uncage the gyro. Now you'll notice if I pull back, my bullets are going to go lower relative to my nose. If I push forward, they're going to go here to go up. And this gun sight compensates for that with a bit of a lag. But for 1944, this thing is way ahead of its time. It's an electro-mechanical computer with a gyroscope and a, I want to say holographic sight. I don't know if that's the correct word. This is me adjusting the range. See, you imagine bullets traveling out from the nose of the plane. They're going to drop due to gravity. They're going to travel the direction I was facing it when they were fired. And they're going to follow kind of that cone. So, this is a pretty advanced gun sight. Even today's EAGs, like a windsock, kind of uses the same, probably a lot of the same kinds of calculations. What I like to do, since I haven't figured out how to use this properly yet, I'll dial in the wingspan, I'll pull this back all the way, and you can kind of get in real close to where deflection isn't going to matter too much. And you fly until your target wingspan, here's how it's supposed to be. When you fire on your target, the wings are supposed to be tip to tip, you know, from here to here, roughly. And this is supposed to be on the target's fuselage. I can't fly well enough to get a good solution long enough for this sight to be effective. So what I do is this, combine the two sights, and you can kind of imagine a line going from here all the way down there. I put my target, I'll pull this imaginary line through my target's flight path, and when I kind of feel where it's about the right range, sometimes I'll adjust it a little bit to what I think the range is at. Excuse me, there's a cat on my lap. Get away! Ah! Lift it up. Ah. Anyway. You get the idea. You can kind of imagine the cone that the bullets are going to fire at. I'm not going to talk about gun harmonization or scatter pattern. Instead, let's just go blow up those trucks that I left. There's, I think, 16 of them. Harp beer, made in Ireland. I did not deviate from this. Recenter the rudder. Pull back on the throttle a little bit. Don't put the engine too hard. It will eventually. If you run it hard, it will shut down. Trying to get the hang of using the rudder and movement. As you can see, I need some practice. On circle one around, you can kind of lean to the right here, and you can see the fuel gauge on the bottom left, bottom right. And if you lean forward a little bit, you can see the defroster and hot air controls, which I do not use because I'm sitting at a desk. Man, this track IR, I gotta tell you, I've been putting off buying one because it's like, it's a lot of money, it's so expensive. You know, I can just look around with my keys. I tell you what, it's worth every cent. You can use face track no IR, or is it open track, and you can actually build a head tracking hardware with some coat hanger and some LEDs, some infrared LEDs for like $5. You can get a PlayStation 3i camera for about $10. Take out the IR filter, which takes about 10 minutes of delicate work, maybe 20. And set up open track, and you've got yourself a pretty good system. I tried it, but maybe my head is on weird or something. And it acted like my neck was like 6 inches right where it actually is, and gave me headaches. So I saved up some money and I bought the track IR, and I really couldn't be happier with it. I'm trying to figure out this actually. See how that, it's like a stutter, like a stop motion animation look to it. Especially down here. Maybe if somebody watches that and knows the solution, you can comment and explain it. That'd be dandy. There's a solution to it. There's probably a setting I haven't noticed. Being horribly inefficient with that. There we go. Now that is a beautiful aircraft. Yeah, that really was. Well, we're speaking of beautiful aircrafts. I highly recommend, if you ever have the chance to watch and hear a P-51 fly, probably at an air show, whatever you have to do to make that happen, make it happen. There is nothing quite like the sound of that. It is gorgeous, and maybe one of the most beautiful sounds I've ever heard. The sound in the game is pretty cool, but it just doesn't. There's no way to really describe the sound, and you can feel the sound. You can feel it in your chest as the plane flies over. It's really, if you're an aviation enthusiast, if you've made it this far into my stupid video, I assume you are. You really owe it to yourself if you haven't already. What's even better, well, at least more rare, is a chance to hear a radio, even if it's a T-28, but I recommend the Corsair. If you ever get the chance to hear a Corsair, if you have to sell wheels off your car, or perhaps a kidney, just do it. You won't be disappointed. You have 2 kidneys for a reason, right? Well, okay, so that was a wingtip stall, I believe. Usually that, like I said, you can't. This plane requires finesse and a bit of skill. You cannot just go yanking the stick. Yeah, you can make your Beavis and Butthead comments about that. You can't just be fluid with your input, whether it's on the throttle or the stick, rudders especially. You have to use finesse, you gotta use skill. This is the kind of plane where it performs beautifully, but before you make demands of it, you have to ask it what it will let you do. One thing I wish the plane had is an ammo counter. You have to kind of guesstimate how many rounds left you have in rounds. One way to kind of know, that's why I kind of nice over here in fire, is you have 6 M2s, right? 6 Brownings. The awesome 50 BMG round. The outer 2 guns have, the outer 4 guns have less ammunition than the inner 2. So if your outer 2 stop firing, it's kind of a warning, like, hey, you're running low. I don't know, was intended that way or not, but it doesn't work. If I had widened my turn, I could have gotten two, perhaps all three of them. I don't, okay. I love DCS. It's taken over a lot of my brain space, and I've forsaken a lot of other video games in favor of this because it's just awesome. But it does have its problems. In particular, the damage model when you're shooting at enemy aircraft, they're flown by artificial intelligence, their damage model is just ridiculous. I could go on a rant, but I won't. The other is that it's hard to find targets. It's a tiny little truck, and he's like half a mile away. Real truck half a mile away, you have no trouble spotting. It's like a dot. There's no smart scaling in the game, and you don't have any plans for it. In the A10 or the F-15, no problem. You have all kinds of sensors that can help you spot stuff. P-51, F-86, all visual. Old school, you know? So you gotta rely on doing this. That's part of the reason I got the track IR. You gotta do this, but then, even if it's in your field of view, let's say it's a miniature Smith, a real person can see it, depending on your vision. If it was a mile away, you'd have no problem spotting it. But in DCS, it looks like a tiny dot, and then that's if you spot it. You have to identify it. Good luck with that. And you have to get in close, and by then, you know, he knows you're there, and the element of surprise is lost. It's dangerous. And anyway, I'm hoping the new graphics engine, which is due to come out soon, trademark, will help out a little bit. In the meantime, you can use this any zoom feature, kind of like with the new binoculars. But as you notice, it causes a ton of problems. Zoom out. It looks funny. So we can do that, but as you notice, there's your field of view, kind of disorients you. Field of view. So what I'm going to do. Forgot something. Just for movies and giggles. You're not doing this in real life. But if a goat to the sheep in some poor farmer's field can get shot by my rockets, so can this, I don't know, office, building, warehouse, generic structure. See how they drop a lot? Thanks. Probably had a, you know what, I heard the people in there were like real jerks. I heard that they were shooting goats and sheep with rockets, that they advocate against spaying and neutering your pets, and that they leave their Walmart bags just in the parking lot. I mean, that's just let's head back to Letty Airfield. Toomey is out that way somewhere. It's like right there where that railroad is. Probably Letty looks like Takeoff. This is everybody's favorite target range, where X does in fact support this one. like I was saying, the fuel tank back here behind my seat. I won't say it's in a bad... How about that? It's empty. It's in my left. It's got a right wing tank. What a lot of people complain about is if you do have fuel back there, it's a kind of a counter lever. Out here you can see the next landing gear comes out. The fuel tank is about where the star is. What that does is, if you land with fuel in that tank, the weight from the fuel pushes the tail down, which points the nose up. And if you have any power to the engine, it will make you climb back up into the air slowly because you're at landing speed. And then you'll stall, which causes you to crash right back into the ground. As much of a pain as that is, it's cool that they modeled it correctly. Most of the time, in DCS, I take that fuel tank empty because I'm not currently escorting B-17s across the English Channel into targets deep into Germany, and I don't need that kind of range. I'll just fill up the wing tanks with like 30-40% fuel, which should be enough. The engine's efficient. I don't usually fireball the throttle. What I'm doing now is trying to bleed off speed. I drop the gear at 70, extend the flaps all the way down. Drop to maximum RPM. And let's see if I can land without bouncing. Even with the empty fuel tank in the back, it's still quite a challenge. If you're supposed to touch down at 90 miles per hour. And your BSI should be, I forgot the number, but if you come in real gentle, it's a good thing. So now I'm descending at about 1,000 feet per minute. I'm at about 1,000 feet. 800 feet, so I've got less than a minute. Excuse me for a moment. I'm still trying to get the hang of the distance at which I should chop the throttle to idle. Altitude at which I should begin my approach. If I can solve these problems. Excuse me a moment. You don't need to come up here. Go away. Go away. I'm busy. Sorry. Cat problem. Go bother the dog. Etc., etc. No, I don't need the... I guess if you were actually flying, you would probably shut the gunsight off. You would probably cage the gyro to avoid damage to the gizmos, and who cares? It's a simulator. I do appreciate realism. I like the option to have that stuff. But ain't nobody got time for that. Yeah, I know it's going to bounce. You know what? That actually isn't too bad of a bounce. And then, since you're at low speed, you tend to come in even sharper on your descent movements. And you get this kind of behavior, which is, in real life, very expensive. That was a horrible landing. I apologize. I'm still trying to get the hang of it, but it's a crash. Anyway, once it stops bouncing, I pull stick full back to plant the elevator with the tail on the pavement. Let's see. Oh, wheel brakes. Whoa! Again, expensive problems in real life, but since I don't have to pay for anything here. So, you know what's cool? Never mind, I just stood up in my seat and get that effect. What fascinating times we live in, huh? Anyway, I'm just gonna come out with, I'm gonna say that I'm probably the worst at taxiing. It's gonna park over here by this Russian cargo plane. For my money, if I had to pick the most beautiful machine ever created by humanity, I think it's this one right here. I know this is just a simulation of it, but just that. Look at the proportions, the power in the engine, you know, it's just the right plane at the right time in history. All the angles are perfect. The sound and everything. Anyway. I'll just put it out there. Let's do the quick shut off. Let's see, we can just put this to cut off. Shut off the engine, shut off the fuel system. You can flip that down if you want to. Shut off all the electrical systems. And if I had been really cool about this, I would have opened my canopy on landing and just taxied with it open. But I'm not cool. I'm not.